Centre here in Essex. It is Fight Night, and Top Tier Promotions have lined up a fantastic card packed full of talent from top to bottom. Our first two fights are streamed live on the DAZN and the Stomping Ground YouTube channels. Then you can switch over to the DAZN app for the remainder of our card. The Stomping Ground's very own Oscar Bevis has joined me ringside just to talk through some of the fights and also how well the channel's doing. Second top tier show on your channel.
Yeah, thank you. Brilliant to be here alongside you, Ali. Brilliant to be in a Brentwood Centre that in about half an hour is going to be ram-packed full of fans. Just on the Stomping Ground and Top Tier and the combination of the two, both new, both evolving, it's a combination that works. And in terms of quality control, yes, everyone wants to have live boxing on their platform, but not just any live boxing. I like Top Tier, I like what Johnny's doing because there's competitive fights, there's title fights, and for prospects as well, they're being tested. We're talking about prospects that don't just have to show good boxing ability, but have to show heart and guts, and we're going to see more of that in there tonight. And this show is called Diligent, and I don't think that sums up just the show tonight, but actually Johnny and Top Tier's whole leap into small hall boxing. So yeah, honoured, pleased that the Stomping Ground can team up with Top Tier and get a night like tonight on the channel.
Yeah, definitely. And let's just talk about some of the fights that are coming up tonight. There's 12 fights. What ones are standing out for you?
I think the standout fight is, I'm going to pick a standout performer before I talk about standout fights, because I was thinking about this backstage. I bumped into Konstantin Ursu, and he struck fear into me, and I was only holding the door open for him. 24 years old, Moldovan southpaw, can really fight, and he strikes that fear into opponents. If you go back to his fight with Jordan Dujon, we're at the weigh-in, he was throwing the towel into Dujon's camp and saying, you're going to need this, you're going to need this, and they needed it. This man is a beast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight.
Yeah, he is a top tier favourite as well, Konstantin Ursu. Okay, what fight do you think is going to steal the show tonight?
I think Ozzy Osbourne and S.A. Smith. S.A. last time he was here showed real guts against George Liddard. He was tough as old boots. Had to get up from a knockdown in the first round, but went through 6. And yes, his boxing ability is what won George Liddard the fight, but my God, what you saw from S.A. in there was serious cojones. And Ozzy Osbourne knows the top tier scene like the back of his hand, knows the Brentwood Centre like the back of his hand as well. That win over Grant Dennis, I think, showed people that he's here, and he's here to put a real stamp on a hot division. And any fight that's for the southern area is always a banger. You go to the British Boxing Awards, go down the fights of the year, there's always a southern area fight sitting there involved. So for me, I think that's going to be my show stealer.
Yeah, the aerial title fights generally never let us down, do they?
Yeah, I love an area title fight. There's just something about two fighters who might not be full-time professionals, aren't usually full-time professionals, who almost feel like they're kind of fighting for their future in the sport. Not that a loss defines any fighter in there tonight, but a southern area win gets you towards the English to British. It's a win like tonight that you can look back on in 5-6 years and go, yeah, that's what made me as a fighter.
Yeah, and the main event for another title, the Commonwealth Silver welterweight title between Elliot Whale and Lloyd Germain. What are you expecting from that one?
I'm expecting a war, because every time Lloyd Germain gets in the ring, there's action. But I'm a big fan of Elliot Whale as well. A little story about Elliot Whale. The first time I met him a couple of years ago, I say 5-6 years ago, he said to me, I don't actually like watching boxing, I just like fighting. So that means to me that when he gets in there, he's going to go in there and throw hands. Looked really good so far, really composed as well when he's kind of had to dig in deep. So yeah, that's a really good fight for me. I've got to sit on the fence because that's what I've got to do on camera. Maybe not if you ask me off camera, but no, it's a brilliant fight.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, thank you for joining us, Oscar. Enjoy the show. I think it's about time we get the fights underway. The first fight is between Kate McLaren and Bojana Libaduska. Your commentary team taking you through all the fights this evening is Alex Steedman, Andy Clark and Barry Jones. But before we get to them, we'll hand you over to your MC for this evening, MC Huss.
Thanks very much, Ali. Very good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. I've got a top team tonight, ringside alongside me, Alex Steedman. We've got 12 fights in total. The first of those coming up. Former super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones, to my left, one of Cardiff's finest. And Andy Clark as well, who normally commentates on the fights ringside, and he's going to help analyse the action tonight. Barry, how are things?
Yeah, all good. We'll be looking forward to this now. This is like the first fight, sort of start of the new season, if you will.
Feels like it.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So I think we're running on is a stacked but good card.
And Andy, I think it's all about potential tonight, isn't it? Or the next step in the careers of some young and not so young fighters with the opportunity knocking.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some professional debuts tonight as well. They're always interesting to see. We've got a Southern Area title fight and that Commonwealth Silver at the top of the bill. And he makes good matches on these shows, Johnny Clark. And the tickets have gone well, I hear, so the atmosphere should be good.
Yeah, several big ticket sellers on the bill tonight. We're going to talk about them in due course, but time to get proceedings underway. MC Huss with the introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the DAZN and the Stomping Ground YouTube channel. Welcome to the Brentwood Centre here in Essex, England, United Kingdom, for a night of professional boxing. The Diligent Show, brought to you by Johnny Clark of Top Tier Boxing. And now, ladies and gentlemen, time for our first bout of the evening. Scheduled 6 2-minute rounds in the women's welterweight division. And now, please welcome to the ring, Bojana Libisuska.
And she only tends to get stopped by the very best. World champions, heavy hitters like Tasha Jonas and Chantel Cameron. So she's in here tonight to give Kate McLaren some rounds, and I suspect that's exactly what she's going to do.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her opponent to the ring, Kate McLaren.
What a moment this must be for local girl Kate McLaren, returning home in every sense of the word. She's been on a world adventure over the last decade and a half, having left Essex as a relative youngster, going backpacking to Australia. That turned into a 14-year stay where she created a new life for herself. And from adversity, she found boxing. And that love affair has taken her stateside to the States, where she was inspired by Amanda Serrano. She met Jeff Fennick. It's been an extraordinary journey so far, and now she's home, close to her family, and in truth, perhaps close to the current spiritual home of women's boxing on both sides of the Irish Sea. And with her friends and family watching her tonight, she has an opportunity to take a step towards the next leg of her boxing adventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 6 2-minute rounds in the women's welterweight division. This bout is brought to you by Johnny Clark of Top Tier Boxing and the proud sponsors by Insulation, Synergy Direct, Think Green Partners, and Rival. This bout is sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, your supervisor in charge, Des Reese, and your inspectors ringside, Paul Cupid, Terry Fleming, and Gurjit Chana. Your timekeeper at the bell, Brett Bowles, and the third man in charge of the action in the ring, referee Bernard Oyette. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you first, fighting out of the red corner. She's wearing the black with white trim. Her official weight of 143 pounds. She has a record of 72 fights, 7 wins, and one of those wins come in by way of knockout. Hailing from Poland, Bojana Libisuska. And her opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. She's wearing the black trunks. Her official weight of 145 pounds. She has a record of 7 fights, 1 loss, 2 draws, 4 wins, and one of those wins come in by way of knockout. Hailing from Essex, England, United Kingdom, Kate McLaren!
All right, ladies, keep it clean, protect yourself at all times, and listen to me, okay? Touch gloves, good luck.
Here we go then, first fight of the night of a dozen, and it's an opportunity knocking for Kate McLaren. First fight since December when she lost for the first time out in Australia, but now she's back home, close to family, plenty of them are here tonight to watch her fight, including her mum Wendy, watching her live for the very first time. I suspect a few butterflies in her tummy right now. As we get things underway, McLaren, Andy, wants to be part of this wave that is surging through British and Irish boxing at the moment, particularly for the women.
100%, and she sells a few tickets. You could see that on the ring walk, and that was not the ring walk of somebody who was racked by self-doubt, is it? That was not the kind of arrival to the ring that you see every day, and you need to be able to back it up. It was quite something, that choreographed routine, but now she just needs to switch on and make sure she does a good job here. Libachevska is very tough, as we know, but she did get stopped by Harley Whitwell in the second not that long ago. Good fighter, though, Harley Whitwell. If McLaren can get it done as well, then that would be something.
Yeah, Harley Whitwell has been on some of these top-tier shows. Barry and I have seen her a couple of times. She's a good, talented, young, up-and-coming fighter. As ever, there are barometers for these fighters, fellow fighters, their records, their achievements, the way they got the job done. There's always a marker to be put in the canvas, Barry. But the most important thing is to be back in the ring and to get back to winning ways.
And most importantly, just to be controlled in everything you do. And I think McLaren started off nice. No, she's set not a fast pace, but she's controlling the pace behind the jab. It's not always landing, but she's throwing it out there to maintain that distance that she needs to throw that solid right hand that she has. So it's a good, nice little composed start here.
I watched that fight that she lost back in December with Enya Ryan. Split decision it was. It was a really close, competitive fight. Could have gone either way. She'd search for the rematch to try and avenge that loss, but it wasn't forthcoming, and she's kind of plotted her way back home and now has this opportunity on a top-tier show as she gets that first round of her new career in the books. And there you can see Will Jones, part of that. They've just moved, actually, the Elite Gym just moved, all spick and span, so Andy, she's kind of part of something there, and they've all got a spring in their step because of it.
She definitely is. I was chatting to Will just before the show started about an hour or so ago, and it's a busy gym they've got there. It's a really good dynamic, a really good atmosphere they've got there too. He's really, really happy with it, and that kind of concoction, it can be quite fragile, can't it, at times? You just only need really one person who is a little bit too demanding and a little bit too selfish, possibly, who can upset everything, but they're really happy with the way things are building there. And I think with the move, one thing that'll benefit her hugely is just being in the UK and benefiting from being around a lot of good fighters, because the depth isn't the same in Australia.
And as we go into the second round, the opportunities for sparring are going to be so much more plentiful in this particular part of the world. Sense of urgency from McLaren at the start of this second round. Maybe a little bit of the riot act from Will Jones to pick up the intensity as we go into the second of a scheduled 6.
Well, you only have 2-minute rounds, so isn't that in women's boxing, unfortunately? So they don't really have time to build into anything. You've got to start fast. You've got to make sure you've certainly won the first portion of the round, put pressure on your opponent. But even then with McLaren, she came out a little bit, not wild, but not really accuracy with the shots. But at least she kept it nice and long when she went forward. She didn't shorten the punches, allowing something to come back. So as long as you move behind the long shots, you're always theoretically in a safe position.
And one thing that was obvious from that Ryan fight was she really does want to commit to the right hand, McLaren. maybe could use her advantages, height and reach, long levers, maybe work the jab a bit more, but she really wants to commit to that right hand. But it's a new setup, it's a new start. It'll be interesting to see the kind of things they've been able to work on. She arrived, Andy, in mid-June, and the link up with Will Jones came pretty much within days of that. So they've had a couple of months, 2.5 months or so, to sort of build relationships and start to formulate plans.
It's interesting watching her. Her weight is quite heavily on her front foot a lot of the time. She leans in a bit, which doesn't necessarily mean that your weight's all going to be on that front foot. Fighters can be very clever like that, but I think with her it generally is. Be interesting to see what might happen if Libashevska is a little bit more ambitious and tries to back her up a bit.
She had done a little bit of Muay Thai previously, but no real boxing experience until around about 2020. And get this, Barry, who helped train her for what was initially a white collar fight, and then persuaded her to turn pro? The one and only Jeff Fenech. How about that, for starters?
How can you not be a good fighter with that Hall of Famer there in your corner?
Training out of Jeff's gym in his back garden and getting all of that experience with well, he was a 3-weight world champion. Should have been a 4-weight world champion the night he met Azuma Nelson for the first time. I watched that fight back actually a couple of months ago, and he was terrific that night, Fenech. And actually, I think the WBC just belatedly have turned around that result, Andy, haven't they?
It was a huge controversy at the time, wasn't it? It was a real, yeah, it was, and you could understand why. You could absolutely understand why. I mean, he's probably still the biggest legend of Australian boxing, Fenech. You know, you would probably say that.
Absolutely, and supersonic. Yeah. Supersonic.
Him or Lionel Rose, maybe.
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Absolutely. As we move into the third round.
See, if you've got a solid right hand, which she has, McLaren, and you're struggling for distance, I say it all the time, that double jab, because you just take a shorter stab with the front foot, that just puts you a little bit closer with the second jab. That means you can punch through the target with your right hand. And that helps you then with the judgment of the distance when you want to throw it on its own as a surprise shot. You know where to put your foot. That muscle memory kicks in. You do that competitively, repetitively, and that becomes a really potent weapon for you then.
Libashevska using all of her experience at this stage, as we said before, and she is tough, experienced, used to go in the rounds. That's a nice body shot. Little right hand snuck in there by McLaren in the clinch, in the exchange.
Just telegraphing that right hand a little bit there, McLaren. Just trying to get so much power into it, just lifting the elbow up, just taking it offline, out the shape a little bit. You've got to try and turn from the hips and the shoulders with your shots. You're punching right on the target. Keeps you nice and direct, nice and strong.
She snuck in another little right hand to the body again, McLaren. So he's having his successes up close, even although you'd think from a sort of size and length in her that she should have most of her success at distance.
That's a good jab. Good solid left hand. Just switches off now and again, doesn't she?
Yeah. Just clip a right hand. That was one of the things obvious in that Ryan defeat as well. Yeah, just a bit open to the right hand now and then, but plenty to work on for Will Jones and the team. And as I said beforehand, it's the quality of sparring that's going to be available now in this particular part of the world. That's going to be a huge asset to her going forward, given the fact she turns 34 at the end of the month, and she's aware of time and she wants to use and capitalise on all of that as much as she can.
Exactly, she doesn't exactly have too much time to waste, but in the women's side of pro boxing, if you're prepared to take a few chances and take some hard fights, a couple of wins and you can be right up there. So that's the kind of route that you'd imagine she'll be looking to take sooner rather than later. Just box as much as she can in the early stages, but just that experience in and around the gyms that'll be so different to what she's been able to get in Australia, I think should bring her on a lot.
Into the fourth round then, Kate McLaren. Not the kind of person I think is going to die wondering. She went across to New York for a 2-week boxing camp that was arduous and torturous in spells as well. I know she got to meet Amanda Serrano while she was over there as well. What an inspiration she is for us fight fans, Barry, never mind for you as a female boxer.
Well, I'm not a female boxer, but thanks for saying that. I never have been. Of course, yeah, she's an absolute legend of the sport, isn't she? You know, regardless of the gender, she's absolutely fantastic. And still one of the greatest fights I've been at, her and Katie Taylor. Again, see, just rolling that right hand, rather than just pushing from the shoulder and the hips, just arcs. She's just arcing the right hand. It just makes it a little bit slower, a little more easier to read.
Landed with a left hook there. Just so eager to get her punches off, to get into the action.
It's like a second debut this for her, basically, isn't it? And professional debuts can be tricky because you want to impress, and that's definitely the situation she's in here, probably more so than for her actual pro debut. And Barry's right, that right hand, Lubashevska can see it coming from far away at the minute.
Yeah, as I said, her mum Wendy watching her live for the first time. Her dad Andy did travel across to Australia to see her once, but only the second time he's seen her from ringside. Her uncle and aunt are here, lots of friends and family from the village, hence you heard the cheers as she made her ring walk. And just asserting towards the end of this one, she managed to land another jab and right hand. Sure, there's been a lot of nervous energy over the last few hours, last few days. She's done a lot of interviews. She's always happy to push her profile.
And she's not boxing that bad. She's doing some really good stuff. I would say, I just think she's a little bit too heavy on the front foot. And you just see when she throws the jab, it's a good shot because she puts a lot of weight on that front foot. Means she can't really, get more momentum behind it, like double jab or anything like that, because she's panting, it makes it a single shot. So she's been lighter on that front foot, a bit on the balls of the feet with that front foot, allows her to just get those combinations together, and that's all she's probably lacking here. In a fight that she's winning clearly, by the way, I feel.
Here we go then into round 5. Lubashevska's tough, reliable. He's only been stopped 3 times in the last 26 fights over the last 4 years, and usually that's against really good operators. I mentioned, Jonas and Chantal Cameron have stopped her in the past back in 2017. So she is tough and reliable. She was always going to be guaranteed to give McLaren some rounds tonight. And given the 9 or so months out of the ring, is exactly what McLaren needs after that break.
It definitely is. That time is invaluable, really. And if she got in there tonight against somebody who didn't really know what she was about and had just blown her away, then you get a nice surge of confidence from that, but it doesn't really do all that much for you. So if she can get these 6 rounds under her belt and get back in the gym straight away and get out again as quickly as possible and step things up the next time, I think that's what the plan would be for her going forward.
Plenty of encouragement coming from the sidelines as well for McLaren tonight. You can see Lubashevska just kind of changing the angles, just making McLaren think for every little bit of real estate up there inside the ring.
And as soon as McLaren goes to throw that left jab, she quite often just takes a little step back just to keep it out of the range of if that right hand's going to come that way. I think the right hand's a good weapon there for McLaren. Just can't get it right on target clean enough.
That's what I want to see more of, that jab. Such an advantage in arm length, and that reach advantage. She just tripled up with the jab there, looking for the left hook. We come towards the end of this penultimate round.
Push her up. Push her with your shoulder.
So last chance tonight anyway for Will Jones to impart some advice with the final round upon us. She has done 8 rounds before. She's been the 6 round distance as well. That was last year. So she is fit, focused, used to doing the rounds, but after the break and a new setup entirely. Lots of things to take into consideration tonight for McLaren. And worth remembering, there's lots of inspiration, Barry, just in this weight, isn't there, of a welterweight. She weighed in tonight under welter. I think she was 145 tonight. But you've got, Mayer against Sandy Ryan coming up for a world title. You've got Lauren Price, of course, fellow Welsh person. Bags of talent there as well. Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper, done a whole range of weights over the last couple of years as well. So loads of talent.
Anyone from lightweight to middleweight in women's boxing can, they're all fighting each other, aren't they? Which is crazy in itself. But yeah, it seems to be a good popular weight at the minute for women's boxing, and certainly in the UK. So that gives a bit of incentive to put on a show and try and develop as quick as she can to maybe catch some of these fighters before they move on. And also with the age, with women's boxing, it seems to be different, doesn't it? I mean, age in general now for boxing, their peaks are later than they've ever used to be. But in women's boxing, particularly, I think 34 and you're practically a baby.
There's the jab right hand for McLaren. Slowly but surely getting her timing, getting her distance, and those are of course key factors in boxing.
I just like to see a basic technique, a 1-2 left hook. So just when you're down with that jab, you turn, just proper turn, rotate into the shot, and I'll give you the momentum and natural movement to want to throw that left hook into place.
Well, we saw it last weekend or the weekend before, didn't we, with Diego Pacheco?
Yeah.
Touched with a jab, missed with the right hand. Follow up was the third punch in the combo, left hook to the body, and what a result he got against Zalewski. Just caught on the way in there. McLaren then managed to land her own right hand. That's been her punch tonight. A couple of those little body shots in the early rounds.
Just got caught standing up a bit tall, didn't she, as she was coming in. And it's been a pretty good performance, hasn't it? I think overall, because the pressure is on. As you said, lots of nervous energy. She has been a little bit right hand happy, but it's understandable.
There was a nice little left hook counter in the exchange, Barry, to finish off.
Yeah, it was. I think it wasn't a bad performance. I thought it was pretty good. I think she came out after that ring walk. I thought she was maybe going to be a bit too excited and come out with all guns blazing, but she was nice and composed. Took her time, worked her way into the round. I think Will Jones maybe said, "Listen, you had a good look, but let's be a little bit busier." And she was busier. Then got caught every now and again. I think it's to work on her feet. I think the punches she throws are fine. She lifts her elbow up for the right hand maybe, but I think that's to do with your feet. You put your feet in the right position, it forces you to turn into the shots. And I always say about punching inside your body frame, you're keeping your elbows down and punching through your shoulder, which helps be more dynamic with that shot. But it's her feet a little bit. I think she gets those right on the balls of her foot with her front foot, a little bit closer in with her back foot, even though the weight's always on your back foot. That gives you a little bit more acceleration and pace in every punch you throw, which means you could double up with the jab and punch through with the right hand then because you're closer to the target. But all in all, I thought it was a decent performance.
Well, as Andy said, it was essentially a second debut tonight. It was a homecoming, there was an absence, it's a new team, you're in front of your friends and family as well. There was a lot going on, and she's been through a lot in her personal life over the last few years as well. So all things considered, I should be absolutely delighted just to be back in a boxing ring, and we think winning, but we'll get confirmation of that with MC Huss.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of boxing, we go to the referee scorecard. The ringside referee scores the bout 60-54, and your winner Kate McLaren.
This is just the start for her, Andy, in the second stage of her career.
It is, and just really important for her to not get this out of the way tonight, but I think she would have felt some pressure building up to this. She boxed nicely there. She's won the fight comfortably against somebody she was expected to beat. We knew that going in, but that's somebody who is also extremely difficult to get out of there. So I think they'll just look to get her back out again as quick as they can. Maybe another one like this if they can get it nice and quickly, and then from there just try and scale things up. But she sells a few tickets, she's got some confidence. I love the ring walk because it was something a little bit different, and that's always good.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for our next bout of the evening, scheduled 6 2-minute rounds in the bantamweight division. And now, please welcome to the ring, Sean Jackson.
Manchester's Sean Jackson, real tough cookie, ultra reliable, and out for the second time in a couple of weeks. He's used to going up against the young prospects. He's been in with 8 unbeaten fighters, 9 debutants. He's in against another newcomer tonight, but in 23 defeats he has never been stopped. Really tough and reliable, and he's up against another prospect tonight.
His opponent to the ring, Harvey Smith.
All young prospects in boxing dream of this moment, making a ring walk for the first time, and for Harvey Smith to be doing it on one of these top tier shows where there's a bit of pizzazz, a bit of extravaganza, and a crowd as well. You can see him licking his lips at the opportunity. Talented amateur, started at Repton, where he boxed alongside the likes of Dennis McCann, and he is champing at the bit to get on with it tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 6 3-minute rounds in the bantamweight division. This bout is brought to you by Johnny Clark of Top Tier Boxing and the proud sponsors by Installation, Synergy Direct, Think Green Partners, and Rival. This bout is sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, your supervisor in charge, Des Reese, and your timekeeper at the bell, Brett Bowles, and your third man in charge of the action in the ring, referee Bernard Oyet. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing the gray silver with black trim. His official weight of 118.8 pounds. Hailing from Manchester, England, United Kingdom, Sean Jackson. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing the red and white. His official weight of 117.8 pounds. And tonight, he is making his professional debut. Hailing from Tilbury, Essex, England, United Kingdom, Harvey, the King of Stag Smith!
All right, gentlemen, let's keep it clean. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Start class, good luck.
You can see how keen Harvey Smith is for this boxing debut. It's around 30 years or so ago that a young Barry Jones started out on his professional career, Barry? You remember?
It was October the 28th.
1992?
1992.
Can you remember the emotions?
I was 37 at the time.
Can you remember the emotions?
Oh, mate, it's like, even though I had a long amateur career and boxed at a decent level, it's nerve-wracking, it really is. And it's all about, and you want to impress, and I say this all the time, we say this all the time, but it's really important just to keep your composure. You do have skill, you have ability, that's why you turn pro, to be ambitious. So don't rush your work to impress, just do what you do well, and that'll be impressive enough.
And Andy, as a commentator, how do you balance expectation with being completely fair for a young newcomer?
It's not the easiest thing to do sometimes, is it? Because you hear a lot about somebody before that professional debut, there's a spotlight on them, and automatically you expect something, and you can tend, I found, one can tend, I don't mean you, Stedo, you can tend to be a little bit too critical sometimes, and you forget that it's their pro debut. You forget that no matter what they've done as an amateur, and no matter how experienced they are at that level, that this is something new, and that they will be feeling it. I like Jackson as an opponent for him as well, though, because we do expect 6 rounds here, and you can tell from watching him immediately, boxing out of the orthodox and southpaw stance, and the way he's going about things, he knows exactly what he's doing in there.
Yeah, very clever, good guard, plenty of movement, not a sitting target. There's been a couple of really explosive little flurries so far from Harvey Smith, so both doing what they're supposed to do, Barry.
He looks really good, Smith. Oh, it's a good shot there from Smith there. Jackson changing stance there, but as he just moved to the orthodox stance, he jumped in with the right hand there, Smith. I tell you, it's just the judgment. This is really good. He's jumping into attacks. He's sharp, fast hands. Working up and down the levels as well. I think it's a really good start here.
You'll love this, Barry. One of his favourite fighters, James Toney.
Oh, nice.
There is something old school about his kind of likes and appreciations. I heard him mention Tom Yankello in an interview as well, and that's Paul Spadafora's mentoring coach. So there's something old school and interesting for you as well. So he's got an unusual tastes and backgrounds from a boxing perspective, and that makes him interesting.
Another good right hand again, and he's really aggressive without getting too close and allowing Jackson to hold on. He maintains that distance.
What's that? We talked about our expectations or our balancing of the situation, the occasion, and expectations, but the balancing act for the young fighter must be extremely difficult, Andy.
I think it's a tricky one to get right. I really do, because they expect an awful lot of themselves, and anything short of what they've decided would be a satisfactory outcome, and they can tend to mark themselves down. But ultimately, all you can do on any given night in any professional sport is you get in there, you see what happens, you adapt as best you can, and you achieve the best outcome that can be achieved on the night. And if it's not a stoppage, then it's not a stoppage. And it does look like he's got that kind of maturity about him, though, doesn't he? He looks nice and at home in there. He's not in a rush. I think he's just taking his time there, seeing if he can find the gaps, and if he can exploit the brilliant. If it goes 6, then it goes 6.
And that's why a matchmaking is very important. You get a guy who will fall over for him, giving that confidence and knocking everyone out. But again, that's not a reality gauge, is it? Someone like Jackson who's very almost impossible to stop. If he can get a stoppage, that puts a massive statement. If he doesn't, he gets 6 rounds of learning to manage a fight, which is more invaluable than anything.
Here we go then.
I'm only saying that because I never stopped anybody. But
into round 2. Now and then.
But my first fight with the guy was undefeated in 3 fights. So I had a guy who was competitive, which made me, even though I won the fight, probably made me look better because he was throwing punches with gaps. People like Jackson here, you're a shoo-in to win the fight, but he won't give you any opportunities to really look good. So you've got to force that. And what I think what Smith's doing here, he's dictating the pace, and that's allowing him to show his ability.
I like the way he's kind of quickening into the space, Barry, as well. He's not finding too much difficulty closing the gap, but he's doing it in different ways.
And you know what he's doing as well? See him bend his legs every now and again. See it there? Just before that allows him that acceleration of the pace. Just a little bend of the legs means you can push off that back foot. Just to surge forward with a bit of a acceleration.
Tried to work behind the double jab there, Smith. So far, sparkling through the first couple of rounds on his debut.
He's really good, isn't he? Really good to watch.
Again, the balance of that the sort of energy, intensity, positivity, but with the thought and technique behind it.
Well, already, and I suppose, sorry, Andy, I suppose you're thinking the same. You're looking at him now in a view against a guy who's coming to win. What would he be doing there in a competitive fight? Because some of these punches there against a guy who's throwing might have a different effect.
He's just on Jackson all the time, isn't he? Without ever really looking like he's rushed. He'll just gather those feet, follow him across the ring, but he cuts the ring off pretty well. And as you both said, he's got that little surge. Once he gets inside a certain circumference, if you like, then his feet just become that bit quicker, and he'll punch on the way in without being all that set. But just like he did there, right hand lead, kind of up jab almost, but it just about got its way through the guard. This is going to be hard work for Jackson, who is well set up and definitely knows what he's doing, but this is going to be these are going to be 6 long rounds.
Yeah, demanding. Right hand to the body was a cracker of a lead shot there from Smith too, so no force at all in his work. There's that lead right hand to the body. That is a punishing shot, and that's the kind of shot that really can build something.
And he's accurate with his work as well. Really, economically really good. See Jackson trying to change, just dip his legs now and again, trying to get the shots to go over his head. They normally would.
It's third time in this round he's landed that right hand to the body.
It's almost a screw shot, isn't it? Almost, and I'm not saying he's anything like Nazim Hamid, but the same shot that Naz used to throw with a bit more conviction. A little like push off the back leg and sort of push your body, drive your body through into that little screw shot with the right hand.
Well, that he did produce one of those. Andy called it at the start of the round, didn't he? That sort of almost corkscrew right uppercut. It's a really impressive round from Smith. And he's just starting to milk it and enjoy it, soak it up. Little smile, wave to his fans over on the far side as well. But there was lots to savour from that round, Andy.
There was, and that replay we just saw there, something I've seen fighters do a bit more than I have done previously in the last couple of years, I think. Whether it's my imagination or whether it's true, I'm not entirely sure. But they'll throw a right hand, put plenty into it, and just kind of let their feet cross and end up in a southpaw stance or at least square, and then really put something on that left hand, which is almost like a lead left hand. I'm quite a fan of it. I think if you've got the confidence to do it, it can really work. And he did it a couple of times, almost did it a couple of times in that first round, where he throws that lead right hand, takes his right foot forward, so he's almost just stepping into a really big jab, and then throws a left hand off the back of that.
What that does is it puts you in a position, it almost squares you up, pushes you to put all the weight into that left hook to throw your body into it. The worry for that is you're square-footed. That's the worry. So you've got to hurt him with that right hand. With that first shot, it's got to be a real shot with purchase. Otherwise, you're walking into a left hook of your own.
It takes some confidence, doesn't it, to do it?
And also, but it's a risk factor. But it isn't all boxing. Every time you throw a punch, you're taking a risk of getting caught back. Otherwise, sorry, you're never going to take a risk, and you're going to have a record where you don't stop anybody. Imagine that.
Into round 3 and already landing a couple of sharp, fast right hands, both head and body, Smith. The pressure is incessant, constantly asking questions here of Sean Jackson. He's a gym mate of Dan Booth, who's going to be fighting Marley Mason over 8 a bit later on.
That's a good fight.
Yeah, I think they're going to meet in the middle, aren't they?
That's a right little tear up.
Just away to our right-hand side, Joe Pennington, who's cornering Jackson here from north side up in Manchester at the absolutely supersonic amateur club up in the northwest. Been going for a really, really long time. Done great things. And we used to see him up and down the country, didn't he, with one of my favourites from recent years, Willie Warburton. Tremendous away corner fighter, Willie Warburton.
One of the best in this role. A role that Jackson is now fulfilling, and doing so as earnestly as he usually does, but perhaps troubled a little more than he often is tonight.
And the good thing here about, you're worried about, when you have a success against a journeyman and he's allowing you to wail away, there's not much coming back. Then you try too hard, you put too much into your shots, and then after 3 rounds, you're knackered. But I think Smith here, he's just taking his time, isn't he? As Andy said, he's not rushing his work, nice and composed, and I think he's just boxing at a nice pace that's comfortable for him, which means he can do this for every round, I feel.
Yeah, I don't see him slowing down.
No.
The way he's going about things, I really don't. It's just a little tap and then sinks that right hand in again there, and the legs are nice and supple. There's plenty of suspension there, isn't there? He's not rigid, he's not really forcing anything. Nothing looks like an effort.
Yeah, it's flowing, and it's all natural, isn't it?
I'm glad Jackson threw that right hand then, just to remind Smith there that things can come back your own way. Don't they get too complacent.
And again, just buying himself a bit of space there with that little left hand, Jackson.
Just got to be in mind here, Smith, that he doesn't always look for the big shot. He still can work behind the jab every now and again.
Jackson's defence is so good, isn't it?
That
That left hook, yeah, gets low. He's swiveling, turning. His footwork's good. He copped that left hook from Smith on his right glove. Oh, and mindful of that, and just managed to dodge and weave away from some of the bother through that last minute. That's actually probably a more comfortable final minute that was for Jackson.
Yeah, but listen, again, he had a twist and turn, dip low into the shots, just trying to take the sting out of him by using the ropes to full advantage. But this is a hard night for him. Because as you said, Smith's never given any space for 1 second. He follows him around the ring, maintains the distance so he can jump into his shots as well. So don't allow Jackson to hold him very often. Not allowing Jackson to fire back. It's been a really good display here from Smith. Again, and we mentioned in the last one, mature display.
And good pace, Andy, too.
Yeah, if he could do this for 6 rounds, then that's a really good sign that he's worked hard in the gym. You look at the shape that he's in, and it would suggest that he has, but navigating your way through a fight's a difficult thing to do at any stage of your career, even if you're having it all your own way like he is here. But like we've been saying, nothing looks like it's really a big effort for him. It's all just flowing nicely. It's nice and smooth, and I don't think he's come into this fight with some kind of gung-ho expectation that he's put on himself, that I must get a stoppage, I must do this, I must do that. He's just come in thinking, okay, the bell will go, we'll box 6 rounds or fewer, we'll see what happens.
Sure, his team, I'm sure Richard Ajay, I'm sure his team will have been stressing to him the likelihood that this has got 6 rounds written all over it, but the way he's gone about it, and straight into a 6-rounder's statement of intent, Barry.
I'm not a fan of 4-rounders. I think you should go into the 6th round. I understand for the transition, but I think 6 rounds is a good to start. You have to learn to manage the pace. I think those 4 rounds, you don't really get the feel of what it's like to go 6 a bit distance.
And let me ask you this, Barry, talking about managing the pace, a couple of fierce hooks from either side coming in there from Smith. When you're kind of working through your repertoire, are you, as a prospect, as a debutant in the early stages of your career, you saving a few aces up your sleeve as the fight goes on? Show a bit then, or is it not like that?
I think you just want to show everything. And again, that's where the maturity steps in, what he's shown, because the eagerness to want to impress, sometimes you throw all your cards out there too early. You show him everything you've got. But I think what he's done well here, he's using his legs. When he accelerates in pace or throws a decent shot,
the constant upper body and shoulder movement, the changing of the angles as he's coming, just to make sure that he's not necessarily a target.
I think Jackson might have felt a couple of body shots there as he was pushed to the ropes away to our right-hand side. He got nice and low, Smith, and threw a left in and a right, and there was just a little look on his face as he backed off to the ropes, and Smith was on him straight away again, so it wasn't like he could have any real time there, Jackson, to shake anything off if he was badly hurt. But he's chipping away, Smith, and has been from the very, very beginning, and I wouldn't be amazed if he can make this very rough for Jackson in rounds 5 and 6.
It's been pretty uncomfortable through 4 so far, and the pace has been simmering to the boil. Oh, that's a lovely shot. There's one of the big reminders. Clipping left hook from Jackson.
And what he's doing as well here, Smith, because that left foot's on the outside, he's not giving that, when Jackson's in that southpaw stance, he's not giving any escape route. He can't go to his left because he's going to walk into that right hand, and he can't spin off to his right because Smith's got his foot on the outside. So he sort of corners him in.
He's cut the ring down well tonight, hasn't he?
Oh, really good. I think, he's that ring generalship we talk about, Smith already showing it so early in his career.
Little touch of gloves between the pair of them as they went opposite directions at the end of that 4th round. Couple still to go. The pace has been continual. The pressure has been persistent.
Just looking at Jackson, up to our right-hand side, he's only a few feet away. They've got the end swell out on the left eye, but other than that, he's not showing too many ill effects. And he's been in the away corner right from the start of his career, turned pro not that far off 2 years ago in the away corner from the very beginning. And you can tell that he knows what he's doing, that he's had a good schooling, hasn't he? He can fight, he can box, and just another example of one of these lads who, if things have been different, if circumstances have been different and he had a bit more backing, then who knows? But he's gone for that away corner. But you can see how he's done what he's done so far.
Smith is loving this. He is absolutely loving this night, these moments, this opportunity, and making his debut. He's really enjoying himself.
I think he'd be relentless in this, halfway through this round, certainly the last round, if it goes that far. I think he will literally be relentless. I think Jackson has enough about him to know how to survive that. But again, I think something you both touched on here, that this has been a hard night here for Jackson, one of his hardest.
And the body shots have been consistent throughout, and Andy was touching on those, maybe just starting to bear some fruit in the previous round. Well, we'll see in the last 5 minutes.
It'd be really good to see Smith in the last, just over 5 minutes of this fight now, just be able to click up through the gears a little bit and keep accelerating right up until the final bell, because he's boxed this at a good pace so far, but it'd be nice to see him really demand that of himself, to push himself, really stretch himself.
Like I said, you know what's been impressive? It's been a good pace, but he's making Jackson do all the work. I mean, Jackson not throwing the punches. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard-paced fight for Jackson, but for Smith, it's a controlled, easy pace.
Well, and also he's forcing Jackson throughout, but he's making him throw some shots, maybe now and then when he doesn't necessarily want to. Backs against the ropes. Just missed with that right hook, Smith. There's no panic in Jackson yet, though. Discomfort maybe, but no panic.
No, there isn't, and I don't think we're likely to see much unless he gets really clipped with something that just takes his senses away, to be honest with you, because he's always looking at exactly what is coming at him. He's comfortable enough in this kind of distance here where he just relies on being able to dip his knees and slip and roll and stay out of trouble. He's got that guard high, but he's never just kind of tucking up behind it, not looking at what's coming his way.
He does have a tail, Jackson, and almost in the second wave, he does just kind of crouch. He just kind of ducks, doesn't he? I don't know if Smith can pick up on that or use it to his advantage.
He just got a nice easy rhythm now, hasn't he, Smith? I think he should up the gears a little bit now, because I think he can, but there's no need for him to do that. I think the control pace that he has to not make any silly mistakes is more important than really looking for the finish and possibly getting caught or cut or anything silly like that. I think it's been a really good performance, real polished so far here from the youngster.
And Jackson can see the finishing line. I don't think it necessarily changes his approach, but it certainly can affect the mind and moods with one more round to go. What do we want to see in the final 3 minutes? Should we see anything different?
I think we will. I think inevitably, because he's been able to box at an easy pace and he hasn't really pushed himself here, Smith. I don't think so. That I think he can. I've got the gears, and it's your debut in front of your home crowd. You've had everything your own way. Everything points to him really putting his foot on the gas and trying to get the stoppage, make a real statement. You've got to get the balance between being sensible and also trying to sell yourself and make a bit of a statement also. So I think he ups the gears without being stupid. I think if he gets caught with a few shots, he will go back to what he's been doing the last 5 rounds.
Here we go then, 6th and final round, last 3 minutes of a professional debut, the one and only night like this for Harvey Smith. He's put forward a really smart performance on his debut, and as Barry predicted, Andy, it looks like we've had an increase in the tempo and a crank through the gears.
And that's what we want to see, because he's got plenty left in the tank. So let's just, as I say, click through those gears and see if he can get something done here in the final round, because 3 minutes is an awfully long time, and Jackson's done really well so far to avoid most of the heavy artillery. But if he just gets caught with one that gets him going a little bit, you just never know.
It's just important as well for Smith. Just at the start of the round, you can rush to come out. That's the first time that Jackson was able to hold him. So just when you do get a bit close, to do that little pivot around the target, just so you can grab onto him. He's got to turn to try and hold, and you got a clean shot. Got a good punch.
Nice right hand. Fortunately for Jackson, enough of that landed on the glove. As ever, his defences have been excellent tonight. Little wink. I think they've both enjoyed the different challenge that has been presented to each other.
I think one's enjoyed it more than the other.
For sure, but I think Jackson's enjoyed the challenge, and I think he's enjoyed being part of this sort of process tonight. That's his job.
When he'll look back at his career, we all got ambition, but he'll look back at his career and see where the fighters, the fighters who make it, that he's boxed and go, "Oh, I give him a good fight," or I was part of that learning process for him.
Yeah, well, I was just looking back on just this week, actually. This week in crikey, when was it? Would have been late 90s when Eric Morales became a world champion for the first time, and the passing of the torch.
Yeah, the 95 one, I think.
Yeah, I think mid 90s.
Good shots, lovely left hook.
Nice little jump back, left hook landed, just creating a little bit of space for himself, Smith. In and amongst all the hullabaloo, still finding time to think.
This is really good performance. He hasn't panicked once or rushed when he's hit the guy with a good shot, and he hasn't gone anywhere. He hasn't tried to overextend or push through the punches and tire himself out. He's kept the control of the tempo of himself. More importantly, so his breathing's always regulated, and he's shown his array of skills. I think it's been a really standout debut.
And closing seconds, Jackson happy to turn away, and no surprise that Jackson was able to see out the 6 rounds. Such a clever little fighter, but that was a terrific debut from Harvey Smith. Ticked a load of boxes right from the very start.
He did, and I think what impressed me most about him is you could see that there's ability there. That's really obvious, but just his demeanour more than anything else. He looks really at home in there. He looked at ease with the situation. He wasn't nervous, and it was the fact that he wasn't going hell for leather for some kind of stoppage or extravagant finish or showreel knockout. Maturity really is the word that springs to mind, because you never really know what's going to happen on any given occasion, and he just went in there to box and enjoy himself.
So, second fight of the night. We've got 10 more coming up, and we'll be returning in a few minutes on DAZN.